Why do project managers tell the project team and stakeholders, I'll socialize that information? Socialize it? What are we doing? Taking a status report to the club? Are we having a party? Oh, I get it. The risk register is going to happy hour with us. But here's what's interesting. When an experienced project manager says, I'll socialize this, they're doing far more than promising an email. In fact, socialize this may be one of the quietest ways project managers create accountability without ever using the word accountability. Let me show you what I mean. Imagine that you missed an important project meeting. Maybe you had another meeting at the same time. Maybe something urgent came up. Whatever the reason, you weren't there. Later that morning, you send the project manager a message in Teams. Hey, can I connect with you sometime today to discuss what I missed? A few minutes later, the project manager responds, no problem. I'll socialize the information to the broader project team and stakeholders within the hour. You read the message, then you read it again. Socialize the information? You were not asking for a networking event. You just wanted to know what decisions were made, whether anything changed, and if there were any action items assigned to you. About an hour later, you receive another Teams message from the project manager. The information has now been socialized with the broader group. There's that doggone word again. You open up your email and see a meeting recap that has been distributed to the broader project team and the appropriate stakeholder. The email doesn't simply say, here's what we discussed. In the body of the email, there's a logical breakdown of the meeting. It identifies the decisions that were made, it explains what changed, it lists the next steps, it names the people responsible for their steps. Oh, and right there, next to one of the action items, you guessed it, your name with a completion date. Now you're kind of thinking, wait a minute. I only asked what I missed. How did my question turn into an email into the entire project team? But then that's when you notice something else. Other people who attended the meeting are included in the recap. Stakeholders who were not in the meeting was also included. Everyone is now looking at the same decisions, same responsibilities, and the same deadline. The project manager didn't simply answer your question privately. They created a shared version of what happened. And see, that's the difference. And it matters more than people realize because the project manager had responded only to you. You would only know what happened. But when he responded to everyone else was affected by the decision and they have the same understanding. Would the stakeholders know what changed? Would the action owners remember exactly what they were committed to? Would everyone agree on the same deadline 2 weeks from now? And if one of those commitments were missed, could someone still say, I don't remember that, or I don't know? That is when you begin to realize that socialize this is just another corporate phrase designed to make an email sound more important. There's a professional system hiding underneath it. Here's the reflection, family. Think about how often project information becomes trapped inside meetings where it was originally discussed. The people in the room leave with one understanding. The people who missed the meeting receive a shorter version. Leadership receives another version. And sometimes the people responsible for the work never receive a clear vision at all. Then several weeks later, the confusion begins. Someone says, I didn't know the date changed. Or someone says, I thought the decision was still being discussed. And that person assigned to the action says, I don't remember agreeing to that. That is the problem. Socializing information is designed to prevent because project communication is not complete simply because something was said during a meeting. The information, it must reach the right people, carry the same meaning, and make the next step clear. But that leads us to a question. If you send the information, but the people receiving it still doesn't understand why it matters or what they're expected to do, did you actually communicate or did you just simply press the send button? Principle number 1, socializing information is more than sending information. Let's begin by translating the actual phrase. Depending on the organization, you may hear something like, I socialize this, or I'll socialize the information, or I'll socialize this out to a broader group. The words may change slightly, but the intention is usually the same. The information needs to move beyond people currently discussing it. Important project information often begins inside a smaller conversation. A status report may be reviewed by the core project team. A risk may be discussed during a leadership meeting. A decision may be made during a steering committee session, but the people affected, by the information may not have attended the original conversation. Socializing information moves the message beyond the room where it was originated, and it helps the appropriate stakeholders understand what changed, why it matters, and what may be expected from there. Here's the first important distinction. Sending information is an activity. Socializing information is a communication strategy. Here's the lesson, family. Sending an email may confirm the information was distributed. Socializing the information helps create awareness and understanding. An attachment alone doesn't guarantee success. Awareness does not guarantee understanding, and understanding does not guarantee action. This is why information is not socialized simply because someone press send. Let's imagine. Project team just completed its weekly status review. During the review, the team agreed to move UAT, user accepted testing, start date from August 11th to August 18th. A project manager could send an update status report as an attachment and write, attached is the week project status report for your review. Technically, the information was set, but was it socialized? The recipients still have to open the report, find the updated date, understand why it changed, determine whether the change affects them, and figure out whether they're expected to do anything. An experienced project manager, this is my part right here, family, reduces that uncertainty. Experiment with these actionable tips. Tip 1, explain why the information matters. Do not simply forward the attachment. Pull the most important information out and put it into the body of the message. Instead of writing, attached is the weekly project status report for your review, you could write in the body of the email saying, following today's status review, I'm socializing the updated testing timelines with the broader project team. UAT will begin on August 18th. Work streams should confirm their assigned testers by August 12th to avoid affecting the revised start date. You notice what just happened here? The audience knows some very important information. They know what changed. They know why the information matters. They know who was affected. They actually know what is actually required and when it's due. See, that is the difference between delivering information and helping people use it. Here's another example for you. Suppose leadership has approved a phased implementation. Instead of writing, the implementation approach has been updated. Please see the attached presentation. We don't do that. You would write, leadership has approved a phased implementation beginning with the customer service workstream. The remaining work streams will follow after the initial release has been stabilized. Workstream leads should review the revised sequence and identify any dependencies concerns by Friday. Again, the audience does not have to search for the meaning. The meaning has already been made visible. Actionable tip number 2, I love for you to experiment with. Create an opportunity for questions and corrections. See, socializing information should not always be a one-way communication. If people are affected by the information, they may need an opportunity to question it, correct it, or raise risk before the project moves forward. For example, please review the updated implementation approach, send any questions, risk, corrections by Wednesday at 3 p.m. We will address the feedback before presenting the recommendations to the steering committee. This does more than just distributing information. It creates an actual response window, which holds people accountable for meeting that timeline. Here's another example involving a meeting recap. Please review the decisions, owners, and completion dates below. If anything does not accurately reflect your understanding of the meeting, send the correction by Thursday so the project schedule can be updated. This is important because project managers are not perfect. We misunderstand a commitment. We can assign an action to the wrong person, and we can document a date incorrectly. Giving people an opportunity to respond protects both the project as well as the team. Here's my professional advice, family. Experienced project managers do not only ask who needs the information, they also ask who needs to understand this information well enough to make a decision or take an action. That is completely a different question. The first question creates a distribution list. The second question creates a communication strategy. Experienced project managers understand that sending information is not the finish line. Communication succeeds when the intended audience understands what the message means for them, but that creates another question. If executives, project team members, sponsors, and clients need different things from the same information, should everyone receive the exact same message? Or should the way you socialize information change based on people receiving it? Have you ever received a project email containing so much information that you still could not tell which part actually applied to you? The message may have been accurate. It may even include every detail, attachment, and meeting a note available or imaginable. But if the audience cannot determine what they need to know, decide, or do, can we really call that effective communication? Principle number 2, the audience determines how information should be socialized. Ooh, this is getting good to me, family, because have you ever received a project email containing so much information that you couldn't tell which part of it actually applied to you? The message may have been accurate. It may be detailed. And again, like I said, it may include every document imaginable, but you still don't know what you're supposed to do. That happened because effective communication is not measured by how much information a project manager provides. It's measured by whether the audience receiving the information needed to perform its role. Let me break this down for you. Why does the audience matters? See, different stakeholders require different levels of information. Executives, they care about the business impact, financial exposure, major risk, required decisions, and confidence in delivery. Now, the project team, they may just be concerned with, hey, what's assigned to me? What are my responsibilities, due dates, dependencies, defects, and immediate next step? A message can be technically accurate and still be ineffective if it does not help the audience understand, decide, or act. Here's the lesson, family. What does this actually look like? Experienced project managers do not move forward with the same generic message to everyone and call it communication. They translate the information to different audience. This does not mean changing the facts. Let me be crystal clear there. We are not changing the truth based on who is receiving it. We are changing the emphasis, level of detail, and request response based on what the audience needs. Effective project communication does not change the truth. It changes how the truth is presented so the audience can use it. Ooh, I like that one, family. Here's 2 actual tips I love for you to experiment with. Translate the same information for different audience. Suppose project testing is 2 weeks behind schedule. An executive may want to receive this message. The testing delay may move the planned go live date by 2 weeks. The team is evaluating a phased release to protect the highest priority business capability. That version emphasizes business impact, timeline exposure, and the proposed response. The project team may receive this message. Testing is currently 2 weeks behind schedule. The test leads must submit their remaining execution plans by Thursday, and defect owners should update their resolution dates before Friday. Readiness new. That version of the communication emphasizes the following: immediate responsibility, owners, deadlines, and the next governance checkpoint. It's the same issue, but each audience receives the information it needs to perform its role. Here's another example involving a budget risk. Leadership may receive current vendor costs are projected to exceed approved budget by approximately 8%. The project team is evaluating scope adjustments and contract options before requesting additional funding. The delivery team may receive pause on unapproved vendor requests while we review the current forecast. Workstreams leads should submit their remaining vendors' needs by Tuesday so they can be included in the updated cost analysis. Same risk, just different information needs. Here's my professional advice, family. How do experienced project managers think? Experienced project managers understand that communication supports decisions. They do not select language based on how impressive it sounds. They identify the decision, action, or understanding the audience needs first. Then they choose the language that supports that outcomes. In other words, family, what I'm saying, the thinking comes first, the words just simply follow. But now we're approaching the hidden part of Socialize This. What happens after information has been communicated and someone later claims they didn't know what was expected? Wow. See, now the right people have received the right version of the information. They understand what changed, why it matters, and what it was expected to do. But what happens 2 weeks later when the deadline is missed and someone says, I didn't know I was responsible for that? Isn't communication enough, or does important project information eventually need to become documented accountability? Why do experienced project managers document decisions that everyone supposedly heard during the meeting? Is it because they don't trust the project team, or have they learned that people can attend the same meeting, hear the same conversation, leave with a completely different version of what was actually decided? Principle number 3. Compliance turns communication into accountability. Yes, it does. Why do experienced project managers document decisions that everyone supposedly heard during the meeting? You know the motto here: documentation beats what? Documentation always beats conversation, because people can attend the same meeting, leave with completely different versions of what happened. One person remembers a suggestion, another remembers a decision, someone else remembers volunteering to help but not accepting the ownership. Then the deadline arrives. The work is incomplete. Everyone suddenly becomes an attorney presenting their interpretation of the conversation. This is where another professional word enters the discussion: compliance. Why does compliance matter? Projects require a reliable record of decisions, expectations, responsibilities, deadlines, risk, change, and approval. Without that shared record, decisions can be interpreted. Responsibilities become unclear. Miscommitments turn into arguments about what's actually communicated. When a project manager says, "I'll distribute the meeting recap to ensure compliance across the project's team," they may be saying, "We need to have a shared document record of what was decided, what everyone agreed to, and when those commitments are due." Or if we remove all that professional language, we are just closing the door on, "You know what? I really just didn't know." Here's the lesson, family. What does this actually look like? Compliance turns a general conversation into a documented responsibility. It is not necessarily about catching people or creating unnecessary bureaucracy. Proper documentation protects the project team by ensuring that everyone can reference the same information. Compliance closes the door on selective memory. Documentation does not change what was discussed. It protects the project from later disagreements about what was discussed. This is why meeting recaps and our opening story matter. The project manager did not simply write, "Testing was discussed." That tells us nothing. Matter of fact, almost nothing. What was decided? What happens next? Who owns the work? When is it due? What happens if it's late? Those would matter. 2 actionable tips I love for you to experiment with. Actionable tip number 1: document the action, owner, and date. Do not write, "The team discussed completing the remaining test case." That sentence does nothing to establish responsibility. Instead, document the commitment like this: action, complete the remaining UAT test cases. Owner, business testing lien, due date, August 15th. Impact, delays may affect the planned UAT start date. Now, that meeting recap contains something that can be tracked, confirmed, discussed, updated, and escalated when necessary. Here's another good example. Do not write, "The team agreed to review the data migration issue." Instead, write, "Action, assess the failed customer data migration records and recommend a resolution." Owner, data migration lead, due date August 13th. Decision needed, confirm whether another migration cycle is required. The second version, that creates clarity. Everyone can see what must happen and how the action connects to the next decision. Here's the next actionable tip I love for you to experiment with. Ask for explicit confirmation when accountability matters. Do not assume that receiving an email means someone has accepted responsibility. You could write, "Please confirm by Thursday that the assigned owners and completion dates below are accurate. If an adjustment is needed, provide a proposed owner or date so the project schedule can be updated." Here's another example. "Please reply by Friday to confirm that your work stream can meet the revised testing deadline. If the date is at risk, include the constraint and your recommended recovery action." See, this gives the recipient a clear opportunity to confirm the commitment or identify a problem. And if someone does not respond, the project manager should follow up or uses the agreed governance process. Silence should not automatically be interpreted as agreement when the commitment is important. Here's my professional advice, family. How do experienced project managers think? Experienced project managers understand that documentation is not designed to trap people. It protects the clarity of the project, accountability, continuity, decision integrity, and the project team and the organization. So please Don't start sprinkling compliance into every email like a corporate seasoning. We're just learning the language, but we still want the people to invite us to the meeting. Experienced project managers also know when to use the word compliance accurately because compliance is the most appropriate when people are expected to follow an agreed process, decision, requirement, policy, standard, or governance practice. If the only goal is to help people understand a message, alignment or awareness may be more precise. So please, like I said, don't start sprinkling that compliance. Like it's corporate seasoning, we are learning the language, but we still want people to invite us to meet. Hopefully, by this point, the information has been shared. The message has been tailored to the audience. The decision, owners, and due dates have been documented. But here is the final question. If everyone received the information, understood the expectation, confirmed their responsibility, but the action still does not happen, was that a communication problem, accountability, or execution? Because socialized information can create clarity, but clarity still has to be followed by action. Here's my final reflection, family. Think about the last important communication you sent. Did you simply distribute the information, or did you help the audience understand why it mattered? Did they know what changed? Did they understand what they were expected to know, decide, or do? Where the decisions, owners, and dates documented clearly enough to create accountability? And did the people affected by the information have an opportunity to raise questions or correct misunderstanding? Because communication is not completed when you press send. Communication is completed when the right people understand what the information means and what happened next. Next time you hear an experienced project manager say, "I'll socialize this," remember that they're not simply forwarding an email. They're creating awareness. They're building alignment. They're establishing a shared record. And when necessary, they're quietly creating accountability. The phrase may sound corporate, but the purpose is practical. Make sure the right people know. Make sure they understand. Make sure the next action is clear. And make it much more difficult for someone to say, "You know what? I didn't know about that." Here's my closing thoughts, family. If you're ready to move beyond certifications and become the leader your team deserves, the Project Management Lab exists to help project managers replace uncertainty with confidence. I've included some resources in the description to help you continue your journey toward becoming a project manager you want to become. And remember, sets and reps beat talent when talent doesn't do the reps. If you're new to the episode, I go by the name of ED. For all you smart and intelligent folks out there, hey, listen, that just simply means Ed. Until next time.